Good evening, everyone. I, CA Pragya Jain, on behalf of Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICAI, welcome all the participants in today's webcast. That is, skill that set you apart, navigating conflicts and solution with confidence. First of all, I welcome today's resource person, CA Nakul sir, and other present over here. And it's my great honor to introduce our today's speaker, Nakul Arora sir. CA Nakul Arora sir is not just a chartered accountant, he is a leader, a communicator, and a highly sought after educator in the field of finance. His impressive credential speaks volume. A member of prestigious Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, CA Arora sir boosts rigorous training in accounting, auditing, taxation, and financial management, even earning exemption in strategic financial management, a testament to his exceptional aptitude and dedication. But CA Arora's expertise extends far beyond the theoretical. He is a highly accomplished speaker, having delivered over 600 sessions on technical topics ranging from professional standard and taxation to business analytics. He is equally adept at communicating soft skill, having conducted more than 350 sessions on interpersonal communication and leadership, showcasing his ability to connect with audience on both a technical and personal level. His leadership capabilities are equally impressive. As the founder and managing partner of his own firm of chartered accountant, he has not only built a successful business but also actively contribute to the broader accounting community by leading ICAI conferences and debate groups. This demonstrates his commitment to fostering professional growth and intellectual discourse within his field. CA Arora sir experience is not confined to the boardroom or lecture hall. He is worked with a diverse range of prominent organizations, including Barco, Visit Health, Policy Bazaar, One Card, Saxo Bank, Hilton Group, Saxo, Rockwell, Mosaic, and Max Life. This showcasing his adaptability and expertise across various sectors. His extensive speaking engagement across India on topics like compliance with technical and professional standard, ethical standard, and quality control and audit documentation further highlights his deep understanding and commitment to excellence. Finally, C.A. Arora's dedication to education is evidence in his numerous contribution to online platform as well, sharing his knowledge and expertise freely, helping to uplift the accounting profession. He is just imparting knowledge. He is fostering a growth mindset in his audience. So, sir, we welcome you. And without further delay, let's we begin with the session. Sir, session is all yours. Thank you.
Really a warm welcome. Thank you. It was really kind of you for all that you've said, and I hope that my session does justice to the introduction. I will begin with giving my warm regards to CA Jay Charya in absentia, the chairman of the board, and CA Abhay Chachar, the vice chairman of the board, both in absentia. In presence, we have the secretary Sambit Mishra, Dr. Sambit Mishra ji, and of course the moderator CA Pragya Jain ji. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Pragya ji, you just have to confirm that the screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So today the topic is very interesting. We have got the conflict and solutions with confidence. That how do we navigate conflict? I mean, conflict is something which is inevitable, which is not something you can avoid in today's professional world. But we will talk about how we can navigate through it. That the conflict will happen, but when it does, and it will, how will you navigate it, and how will you take it towards a solution? And doing all that, you should not look nervous. There should be no sense of second thought. Like when you do a leadership skill, the leadership should represent, because chartered accountants are the leaders, the paramount of finance. So when a chartered accountant is, doing any sort of discussion, doing any sort of conflict, the entire experience and the abilities should be visible within his, in his deliberation as well as in his conflict resolution as well. So I'll begin my deliberation with introducing the session to you. The part that takes precedence in conflicts is there are two portions of a conflict. One, the subject matter of the conflict. Most conflicts arise from a technical issue. So there's some hard skills involved. I've always said it that no matter how important soft skills are, the core of your competence and your abilities in this world is your hard skills. So whatever your hard skills are, you're a good taxation consultant, you might be a good auditor, you can be a great finance professional. The core will be the skill that is used to do that job. Once you're sure about it, what is the importance of soft skills? Then soft skills will take precedence because there is a technical clarity that you have. You need soft skills to be able to present the right answer with the, there is two portions of any issue that happens. Look, there's always technical clarity involved. I've already said that. Now, because to this at this moment itself, it will be easy for the world to understand. There's one thing which is being technically right, and second, building the right narrative as well. So, in today's world, we're dealing with international conflict. There is one thing that doing the right thing, and there's another thing that making sure the right reports go out in the media, your professional abilities. That is competent. That's a combination of soft skills, which helps you build the right narrative in the international world and taking the conflict towards the resolution. We will not only learn taking the conversations towards resolution. My target is that you learn that along with the solution, how will you get your way? How will you make sure that you have the answer going in your way? I do not mind in you accepting your mistake. You have to admit your mistakes if you want to be right most of the times. But if you are right, we are talking about the instances where you feel that you had the right answer, you had the moral high ground, and still somehow the conversation or the conflict, because of the argument or because of the conflict that happened, you had to compromise, and maybe the entire business or the entire entity at that point suffered. So my target today is that how soft skills will help you navigate these conflicts, these differences of opinion which will happen in the business world. So that's how will you do is with the help of soft skills. Now, what is the role of conflict management in professional success? Because we don't have an active audience here, I'm assuming that this is the question that I need to answer. Well, the role of conflict management in professional success is, I told you that the core of your profession is your hard skills. There is something you are there to demonstrate. There is something you are there to sell, because of which people have invited you, because of which people have, given you the opportunity to work. Now, what above that can you deliver to ensure that your resolutions are not just delivered, but also that resolution is perceived the way you want it to be perceived? One thing is you're doing the right thing. The other thing is your service receiver is feeling that you're giving him the right thing, right? I hope you understand that. This is a little complicated thing that, okay, so A is hiring C. C is because you're a chartered accountant. Because you hired them, you're delivering a service. Now, for that, A is paying you a sort of, let's say the professional fees is being paid by A. Now, this professional fees, there is some service attached to it. How will he decide that is this service worth paying for or not? Most of our places, this person is responsible for hiring you, as well as you might not be working in his interest all the time. Because as auditors, sometimes you have to work in the interest of the government or the act or the court, maybe the department at times. But still, A should feel that his interest has been served. That will be when your service is, firstly, excellent services. So excel in professional service. And second most important thing is that this has to be communicated to the client. And communication is not just by saying that, look, we are giving you good service. How to display that greatness in your actions is what is conflict management all about. Okay, let's move ahead. I hope this is being clear so far. We'll keep on moving ahead. The objectives of today's presentation is basically first foremost is introducing you with the right soft skills. So my job is to tell you the soft skills you need to develop. Hopefully you have developed most of the skills, but then whatever is left is what I'll talk about. So first is the soft skills, because today why I'm introducing them, because you know the committee that we are delivering this session for, the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, this is the committee responsible for all these soft skill webinars and seminars that happen on a daily basis, on a regular basis, I would say. And they actually cover all the soft skills. So if we talk about how are we supposed to learn these skills, this is by attending multiple webinars, and also there are books which have been written, and there is there is reading material published by ICAI where you will learn what skills and how these skills can be developed. So I would really suggest, I'll really strongly solicit you guys, going ahead and looking at the material. These materials are available for a purchase, because like for a person like me, I like to read things on the paper. But even if you don't want to read on paper and wait for the order to be delivered in, these materials are available for free at the ICI resources. So you can always go ahead and have a look at what resources can be there. So first target is introducing you to the different skills and making sure that you have the set of skills that you need to learn, to be able to manage conflict. Now, first thing is skills introduction, knowing the skills, and then is alignment. How would you align those skills with with the conflict management and with the successful solutions, and how resolutions are designed, and how you present your abilities to outcast any challenges that might come your way during your professional career. Above that, there is also an important part of today's presentation where we will navigate that what types of conflicts can be there, and how to handle different response types of these conflicts: response 1, response 2, and response 3, and so on, response n. So we will not just talk about how all skills we need to have. We'll talk about how different conflicts happen and how to address them. And I hope you guys are ready, because today your brain has to be blown. You have to understand that these things might have been heard a million times. You might have heard this as childhood mentorship from your parents. But today I frame it up and tell you that how to make it a package, and you have the right material for success. Let's just move on ahead a little, and we might have the required moving on. So just give me a moment to get this away. All right. So firstly, understanding a conflict in the context of chartered accountancy. So in chartered accountants, there can be different conflicts. I have mentioned a few, not all. The client and the service provider can be in sort of conflict. There could be a conflict between the team. There could be a conflict from the regulators or the departments. So these are different types of conflict that a chartered accountant can encounter on a regular basis. Now, talking about these conflicts, there's a different way you respond to each conflict, because in case of client, the retention is paramount. The importance is given more to the client either agreeing to what we have put on the table, or we are able to demonstrate why we need to take a route different from what the client wants, because that person is the one who's writing our paychecks. That is the person who is demonstrating he's the one who's hiring us for the value addition. So I would always say that keeping the client paramount and at the heart of everything that we do. So the client is at the heart of everything that we do. Now this team is actually our core. We exist because of this team. Our business is because of the team that we have. So when we deal with the team, we have to give importance to their opinions, and we have to ensure that we do not suppress anybody's voice, because a loud team might disagree with you, but will have you achieve more success, more precision, and more panache in your professional life. But a suppressed team is just waiting for your orders, for even picking up a pen and putting a cap back on. So I'm looking for firms which allow these teams to prosper. Their prosperity and their growth makes you such a strong combination that you can, you really have the opportunity of creating an extraordinary team for yourself, right? In terms of regulatory conflicts, the problem with the regulatory conflict is that they have the final word. So they have the final word to say when you are making a call. They are the decision makers, and they are the ones whose satisfaction is paramount, where you have to satisfy them because we have no choice. Now you've understood that I've told you there are three types of conflicts. There are other conflicts that happen. That could be a conflict between society and ourselves. There could be a conflict with the local authority as well. Sometimes sometimes various maybe you are part of a building where there's a building group, where there's like a RWF for society, there's a building welfare association. There can be conflicts that you have to address as well. My concern is that I've told you three types of conflicts which cover almost all different kinds of scenarios. So client, there in this case, you will mostly be superior in hard skills. Here also your hard skills can be superior. Here it is not sure whose hard skills are superior. The client does have the financial upper ground because he is the decision maker of what we do for him. Here he has the deciding upper ground. This person has a power of resignation. These are different ways of they possess authority over us, but they do have their own arrows in their arsenal. But what we need to do is we need to make sure we navigate our way right throughout all the conflicts that we have to go through. Okay. So my target is that you understand that there are different types of conflicts, and you have to, of course, approach them in a different way. For example, with a client, I might approach by, I'll have to put more efforts on listening because we don't talk very often, as often as we talk with our team. With the regulator, I need to understand more because they don't talk very much. They're not going to say too much, but you have to understand, read between the lines, keep your active listening guards on. You have to, put a lot of effort on, put a lot of focus over the non-verbal cues in this case. But yes, in case of the regulators, this will be a different way of addressing it. With the team, you definitely know that they're listening. So you have to talk more. You have to act as a guide here, and you have to see where it can be uh, basically a performance improvement or where it can be a punishment. You have to decide for the team. With others, you have a different way of approaching the same conflict. So the skills used are different. The approach is different, but the word is same. It's conflict. There is a difference of opinion. There is a different outcome. There's a different authority that each holds over our head. Moving on, what are the most common causes of conflict? Now, many people ask this question that we usually believe in, sitting in rooms where our audience is sitting in front of us. But since you guys are on a webcast, think about it. I think we all will end up on the same answers. The common causes of conflict is confusion. The common causes of conflict are different motivations, different objectives. So what is the most important difference is the difference of objectives. So wherever our objects are different, it's okay to have different objectives from the same assignment. But the problem arises when these objectives are not clearly communicated. So communicate your objectives very clearly and try and take a, build an open ground, open arc. Because okay, the regulator will always have an open communication with you. They'll say what they want to say. Your team needs to have a more open availability of a platform to talk. The client needs to have the feeling that you listen and his opinion is valued. Let me talk about this in this way. In Amazon, I believe that's the case where I'm talking about. In Amazon, they have a very good approach towards this conflict resolution, or maybe that platform availability which I'm talking about, that in Amazon, what they do is that whenever a meeting will start, so the lowest person in the hierarchy gets to speak first. So LMH, which is lower, middle, and high level. So firstly, lower level will talk, then middle level will comment, and then high level will comment. Why? Because when the higher level has spoken, when the higher level has already, has already addressed, has already put his point forward, his or her point forward, it's very hard for the middle manager to, give his opinion or her opinion. But when the middle level has spoken, it's very difficult for a the lower level to counter uh, that information or the points that the middle level has already, come up to a conclusion for. So my question to you is that it is your way of providing the platform. So objectives is one reason of communication, of conflict. Second, of course, most important is the lack of information, the lack of info, or you can also replace it by knowledge. Information and knowledge are not very, most of the times information and knowledge is not freely exchanged, and people do not have the right amount of information, and they argue or have a conflict because of that, the differentiation. Now, one of the most important parts of conflict is the conflict that arises due to the lack of trust. Now, how the trust factor leads to conflict. Now, because you are a professional, any profession that you practice, there's one major issue, because we are dealing with problems that are not solved on a daily basis. Not everybody knows the solution to the problems that we are solving. Even in a small scenario, like you're building a house, the masoon, the guy who's building your house or who's doing the plasters on your wall, sometimes comes up with with a comeback that, okay, you don't know what exactly how the cement is mixed and how the walls are made. So if that person has a superior knowledge, who's doing a very tedious task on a daily basis, imagine how much tasks are accountants undertaking, which does not involve people knowing what is being done. So there's a huge gap between what we're doing and how much knowledge does the common world have for it. The most important part here is trust. So I'm sure many of you have had medical complications or medical issues where the family was involved. So when the family is undergoing, when any member of your family is undergoing surgery, I don't know if anyone of us has played as a proxy or not. I have, and I've been sitting next to people who are proxy for somebody. During a surgery, sometimes there are complications occur, and whosoever is the proxy has the right to choose the detour from the surgery. So maybe when a patient is undergoing a surgery, when he goes under the anesthesia effects, they decide on surgery A, but because of the complications that happen during the surgery, they have to go B or C. There are two options. So they ask you to make the choice. That do you do B or do you do C? And the correct answer is that both of them have a set of risks, and the doctor is just making sure that that risk does not fall upon the professional. So I'm always using the term as P. In my opinion, all of us are professionals, whatever profession you practice. For example, in case of let's say there is an income tax case, the demand is, let's say, 100 crores. Now the client has to decide that does he want, let's just not make it 100 crores, because the answer is pretty easy, that you have to go ahead and fight. Now let's make an income tax GST, or maybe any other case where the demand is 1 lakh rupees. Okay, there's a 1 lakh demand. Now there are two options the client has. One, pay 115, which is 1,15,000, because that will be the interest and whatever costs will come till that day. So pay this amount. The second option they have is going ahead with an appeal. Now, never tell the client what to do in this case. Always tell the client, okay, that if you go for an appeal, I'll be charging a fee of 2 lakhs, which is the most common appeal fees. Maybe let's just make it a little more, easy to, let's make some sort of a Sophie's choice here. 7 lakh, let's say, is the demand amount, and your fees is 2 lakhs. There is an uncertainty involved. So maybe 7 lakhs, and that will be settled in 7 lakh 55,000. You're just imagining these figures. These are imaginary figures. Don't quote me on them. So now you have to say that, okay, this is 755, which you can pay today, or in 2 lakhs, you can take a risk, which will be either you will come out definitively just and then you'll have a profit of 5,55,000. This will be your profit. Or the second problem is that if you lose after the appeal, because of time that would have passed by then, you might have to pay 8 lakhs and you have the 2 lakh payment that you made to me. So the choice that they have to make is between 755 and 10 lakhs for a possible profit of 5,55,000. Now, what I've tried to do is that I'm trying to make sure that the conflict is easy to address. That wherever the conflict will occur, when they'll say what you're charging and what not, make sure the client first has the opportunity to choose. Do not make the choices for the client. Don't call the shots. Let them decide, even if the figures are as negative as 50,000 of a demand and 2 lakh is what I charge. Even in that case, the client should be given a choice. Some clients would say that if I'm right, I would want to fight, no matter by paying more than what I have to pay in the case I accept that I'm wrong. Right? Now, let's talk about trust. When the client has to take a call, and if he has a choice, he or she has a choice that I have chosen CA Nakul Arora for my assessments, my appeals, for my maybe compliances, for my ESG reporting, for my BRSR reporting, then the client would have developed this on his own. If we have pushed for a resolution, the chances of trust being developed are very, very low. This is an active scenario which happens in the market, and I am promising you that the accountants who have a habit of taking over the command and saying, no, I'll tell you how to do it. I know how to do it. This let the client have the chance of making this choice. Don't try to solve the problems which you are not interested with, right? So trust is a common factor where the conflicts arise because the trust has not been built. You always use the words build, gained, lost, or destructed. Trust is a slow process. Trust is developed slowly and steadily. And in that case, just give me one. So the trust is developed as a slow process. All right. Now, there's another cause of conflict which I would want to talk a little over. It's just like an overview about that. Sometimes there is a conflict because of miscommunication of the intentions. All right. There is a miscommunication of the intentions. What can be a miscommunication of the intentions? Well, this mostly happens in case of the team. Sometimes it happens with the client. Rarely it happens with the regulator, but it does. So in case of the team, it is very common. Client, a little less. Regulators, to an extent, yes. Even there, it can happen. So my underscores means the amount of intensity I'm targeting this for. Now, the team usually has a doubt over the intention you might have for their prosperity and their future. Many firms or many business houses have been commonly accused, and sometimes I'm sorry to use this word, rightly accused of being in being obnoxious and unconcerned, or maybe not at all. I'm sorry, I'm not getting the word right now, but they're totally unaware and unmoved by the requirements of their team. Look, the team works for the common cause of the firm, which is your firm, because you have that intention that this is my business. This is my organization. This is my team. They are working in your interest. It is your paramount duty to make sure that you work in their interest. And once there is a difficulty in the belief of your in the trust that your team has on your intentions, there is a chance that you will have a regular conflict with the team, with the client as well. There's a sort of miscommunication. Sometimes the client believes that you're not interested in delivering quality service, or rather you're just more concerned about the money that they pay you, or maybe they just understand that you're concerned with the bigger clients more than your old and more seasoned clients. So let me just share something with you. I might have that on me. Just give me 1 second. I might have that on me. Yes, here it is. So I'll be sharing a small incident with you because this is something which happened in the real world. This is a court matter of the labor law. There were employees who accused their firm of that was an organized business, that they were only favoring a bigger class of employees, more elite class of employees, whereas the company had gone public from the last few years. Earlier it was a private company, so they wanted to favor a certain class of employees. Now in this case the problem is that the company was not valuing loyalty. This in turn makes the old employees rightly disconnected with the company. Even the new employees did not have the faith because the company was not behaving nicely with the seasoned employees. Now the kind of intention issues I've told you with the client, with the department as well, sometimes we have to communicate the intention of resolving the problem in whatever circumstances, or sometimes the department does get this negative impact because we have a good amount of technical expertise. We represent our superiority with the basis of the documents that we put on their table. They do get this message wrongly delivered. This message is wrongly delivered that we are not interested in explaining ourselves a lot, or rather we are just interested in putting forward and putting our foot above and making sure that we win the arguments more than we get a clear communication between the department and ourselves. Now, what is the impact of these unresolved conflicts? I'm telling you, the conflicts, you will be surprised to know that most are unresolved. Unresolved conflicts with clients, this could lead you to have a lower negotiation hand, a lower hand in negotiation. With the team, it could cause attrition, yes, or low morale. This is also a problem. So an employee who wants to work for the business, no matter how late it gets, no matter how much effort he has to put, and there's another employee who just works because he's getting the paycheck, there's a difference. With the regulator, if there is miscommunication and there's a conflict which you do not resolve, I don't need to explain what impact it can have, because you know it well, very well, that what impacts they can put on our on the outcomes of our actions. So there's a huge impact of unresolved conflict. Low morale is something we don't discuss very often. When people choose to have an intention of not believing in each other, this can cause damage beyond repair, beyond what we can fathom. Okay, give me a second. Now let's move a little further. Right, let's go ahead. And now let's talk about, I told you we'll talk it in parts. We'll be talking about the key skills that are required to navigate a conflict. You cannot start building a house without having the right tools and the right ingredients make the right meal, right? So the first skill is effective communication. I am sure that you've taken seminars on it, and if you've not, I'm surprised, because communication is a part of every job, every profession, even your personal life. Communication plays an important role in everybody's life. Now, when I talk about communication, I say it involves the most important and the center of the heart of every every detailed issue that you might have is delivery of message. The message is delivered, then the intention should be delivered, what intent you have delivered the message with, and the urgency should be communicated as well, along with everything. And you have to also communicate what is not said. We have to communicate even what has not been said. So this is my way of saying that what communication means to Nakul Arora, this is what it means to him. If the message is delivered, no matter what language you use, till the time. Now, my problem with some people is that in especially in developing countries, it is very more common. Underdeveloped countries or the less advanced nations. I'm talking about nations below the caliber of the nation we live in. People choose to speak in a third language, even when both the speaker and the listener speak the same language. That is a very funny paradox for me. The reason we're communicating in English today is because we're talking to the entire country, and the most people, the most commonly spoken language with the professionals is the language I'm speaking. But if I am talking with the members of let's talk about the languages I speak. If I'm talking to a crowd which is majorly central to the near NCR, I would talk in Hindi. That's more comfortable. There will be message will be delivered, and my intentions will be very well delivered. And if I am talking to a crowd in Punjab, I can talk in Punjabi. If I'm talking to a French crowd, I'll talk in French. These are the languages I speak. Now let's talk about the crowds which, let's say I'm in Punjab. In my home, we speak Punjabi and we are very comfortable with the language. Uh, I'm talking to a crowd which understands the language better. The speaker is good at speaking the language, but they're speaking in English. Now the communication chain is by effect being broken. So my commonly said this statement is what I say very commonly is that you need to you need to let me just try to write it. Talk to express and you dress to impress. All right. You talk to express and you dress to impress. I'm sure. I hope that you're able to see what I've written. That talking is an action we take to express ourselves, not to impress anybody. If the expressions are reaching the right points, I am rather happier than talking in a language where I impress. Because we're communicating right now via webcast. It is better that I'm able to talk and you understand rather than I try to impress you using bombarding words. I talk like a professional who has a wonderful vocabulary, but you do not understand a single word that I speak. That's not the point. The point of talking is expression. Now, in today's world, people have started dressing up to express. So I belong to a certain community. This is how I tell. I belong to a certain. I have a certain mindset. I want to present it by my outfit. No, I dress to impress people. I dress in the commonmost way that most of the people will understand that if I'm a professional, I dress in the way that a professional should dress to work on a daily basis. And when I'm talking, it is more to make sure that I'm able to express myself. All right? Not to impress, to express. So once you understand this difference, no, you'll never be running behind fancy communication skills, fancy workshops, and even on the stage, you have to talk with the intention to express yourselves. Remember this, write it somewhere. Talk to express, not to impress anybody, right? Moving on. There's a second skill, and trust me, this skill is so important to me that I've written books on it. Active listening. Active listening, this skill I take to another level. And I'm sorry, I think I will even choose to write this down as well. So I rather write active listening as observation skills. Instead of using the word active listening, I use the word observation skills. Just a moment. What is the difference when I say active listening and observation? Well, when I say active listening, people think that, okay, understanding the message. But listening starts with speaking. Listening starts with somebody else trying to express something. There is a deliberate attempt to communicate from the other side. No, I'm talking about observation. Many people have this bad habit. I'm saying it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit. You getting into a room and start talking. I enter the room and I have an expression. Oh, what are you doing? How's everybody today? Even if I come into my office, my center of availability, but people want to start talking straight at the moment they come in and they have an opinion. Now, my opinion at this point is very clear that you have to get inside a place and observe what is going on. What is the scenario like? Even if you're entering your own office premises, make sure that there is an availability for you to speak. Because I'll tell you an example. Imagine this. You get into a peer's room. There's a huge room of people, full of people ready to listen. But you didn't observe, and you go in and crack a joke. It's my office. I came inside, I cracked the joke, said good morning. I want everybody to react with a smile, but they are sad. Why? Because one of the employees just got the news that one of their family members just died. Oh, what did I do? I made a mess of the situation, which could have been avoided if I got inside the room and just looked around and saw what is the scenario right now. It is not excusable. Observation skills are not excusable in the 21st century. With professionals, especially, it's not excusable. Another important example, I've read about this somewhere. There was a woman in New York who was arrested because she came from, I don't know if she was from Germany, maybe Denmark, somewhere. And she went into a restaurant. She had food, came outside, and she was arrested. Why? Because she lost her child. Losing a child and you get arrested? Why? To understand. Maybe in Denmark or Germany, wherever she was from, it is a common practice to leave kids outside and go inside and eat. Let kids play in the out environment and then get outside and get your kids away. In New York, it's a very big city and people are scared. Kids can be kidnapped, and people are very, very strict about their child, the way they rear their children. And in those places, it is not a common practice that you leave your kids outside. Now, and this person will say, how will I know? I'm coming from a foreign land. You have to understand me. No, my dear, you have to understand. Forget about you got a child and you got arrested. Imagine somebody just took that child away. Imagine there was some mishappening more than this waiting for them. You have to check the surroundings because the world is not obliged. Write this down somewhere. The world is not obliged to act on your convenience, on your belief system. You have to see how the locals are behaving. And why do they say traveling matures a person? When you travel, the person who's traveled very less, I'll tell you a very common statement which is made by people who travel abroad, that whenever they go to a new country, they have a very common statement, say, oh, this is what happens in foreign countries, this is what happens in other lands. Now let me just counter this by saying one simple line. Every country has a different culture, different customs, different traditions that you'll have to adjust to when you go there. And the person who's traveled more will rather wait longer before deciding what has to be done at different places. Why? Because their maturity is that even when you are traveling within the country, there's a different way you approach every step of life. Different parts of this very country which we live in. Forget about the country. I come from Uttar Pradesh. It's a huge state. So once we go into the western sides, once we go into the central side, the eastern side, you have a different culture prospering. In some parts of this place, it is considered very normal to eat near where they have corpses. Some parts it's not. Some parts wearing a very professional outfit is a common practice. Let's talk about a festival. The Holi festival, when it happens in the city that I live in, we live in NCR. So here, the Holi festival will only be there for 3 or 4 hours of the day of the festival. But in the same state, when you go to Vrindavan, when you go to Mathura, the festival happens for 10 days, 20 days. I'm not talking about a particular place. The entire city is celebrating for a long time. Why? Because that is their way of living. Now, this is observation skills. I'm taking very big examples, but now imagine how many of you would have worked in different cultural organizations? I don't know, but I work for clients whose base or the parent company is from Japan, and one of the others are UK based, and some are based in United States of America. I'll tell you a very small difference, and you have to change your behavior accordingly. The organizations which are based in Japan, it's a common practice to make sure you dress formally but comfortably. In Japan, they have a practice of dressing formally but comfortably, and the Japanese people have a very similar to Indian society. They have a habit of using respectful terms when talking to others. Like in India, use G after the name. They use the term san after their name. In uh, in the in the UK, they are more concerned about using your title and the first name, or maybe Mister and the last name. That's a very common practice. In the States, it's okay to use the first name, and this is preferred in States. So there is a different way, because if you don't actively listen, if you don't observe what is going around you, there's a chance you'll begin conflicts before they even need to exist. Just give me 1 second. Just a moment. There's a communication observation mismanagement at times that is happening even around us. All right. Let's talk about EI. EI is actually emotional intelligence. Now, I've been a faculty of this topic as well, and I am trying to put all of that in one word. Why? Because I'll talk 100 things today, but I want you to remember what I've said by just a word or two that pop up on your screen. When I say emotional intelligence, how do I sum up emotional intelligence? It's very interesting how I say emotional intelligence. So, taking into concern how others are affected by your actions and words is emotional intelligence. Seems simple, it's easier said than done. Now, uh, emotional intelligence, people say that it's something which you have since you're born with. No, no, no. I'm not talking about emotional quotient. Like there is IQ, intelligence quotient, there's emotional quotient. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the basic senses that you're born with. But how can you develop emotional intelligence? Look, again, that sparks from observation, but it's way beyond observation. Emotional intelligence is, you know, having the ability to respect and to absorb how others will feel about what I do. Let me tell another example. For me, I'm a person who has emotions. People at times do mistake people like me for being a little hard-hearted or something. Okay. So around 5.5 years ago, before I became a chartered accountant, just a month and a half ago, month and a half ago, I lost my mother. I was devastated. I cried out my heart out for 15, 20 days. But there's a strange thing that happens, and I think this is how I've been brought up. So I come from a family of people who've served the government, the army, and other strict institutions. And my home does run on a very strict schedule. So my upbringing does not make me very easily, affected, and I don't cry very easily. Now I don't even somebody talks like I've seen people when the name of a dead parent is taken in front of them, they start getting emotional. I can talk about that without being emotionally affected, without being any, without having too many emotions coming out, without being very hardly devastated with it. But that doesn't mean that I start using the same norm for other people. Because when you've lived a long life, for a person like me, I've been in people, I've addressed big, huge crowds. I should have the ability to understand and respect others' emotions. So, whatever actions I take, for example, let's say I have an employee who is very concerned about about their technical expertise. They are they are insecure about their perception. So this happens very commonly, and I'm going to tell you this happens because of how the kind of atmosphere that they have grown up in, because they've been doubted so much, they've been questioned so much, that if somebody doubts their abilities, it becomes a problem for them. Because you will develop with time, you'll understand, because you're the senior one, you're the elder one. It is your responsibility to try and accommodate that person, try and respect the boundaries, and try and ensure that the right outcome is the right results are taken out from the person, the right efforts, the right targets are being hit. Right, be like the Indian Air Force, hit the targets precisely and get out of there. Now, let's talk about another important paramount skill in this, because conflict resolution comes from problem solving skills. How do we know that if we have a problem solving skill, how is our problem solving skill developed or not? This will be answered by one word, which is thought. Immediately when some problem comes in front of you, what happens in your mind is what I'm talking about. Is it you start thinking about the consequences, your thoughts immediately take you to a state of depression, or you start thinking about how this problem will be solved? I have seen people being devastated on the day of their wedding because they are stressed about how things will happen now. Right? Months ago, the office that I'm sitting in right now, some sort of leakage happened and it was raining all around. And I came in the morning and this was all swamped. There was a lot of water damage which happened here. There could have been two outcomes, there could have been two reactions, thinking about what we have lost, thinking about how the office will run now. Do you know, my reaction was that I have a spare room in my home. I need to set up a few tables, chairs, workstations. My staff needs to get to my home, the temporary workspace, and I need to start thinking of redeveloping this place. I need to start making sure the repairs are done without my business as usual being affected. So if you immediately or as soon as possible try and get to the resolution the moment you realize, and in no time you'll be developed to the level where things will come to you instantly. I hope you are able to navigate to it. Just a moment. Let's talk about professionalism. I hate when audience cannot interact, but let me just try. Look, when I talk about maintaining professionalism, my concerns are pretty simple. That, you know, professionalism is, let's talk about it in detail. Let's talk about it in detail. Just give me 1 second. Okay. What is the difference between a professional and a layman? Professional has a solution. The professional behavior is being calm. The professional behavior talks about how a how things will be reaching the resolution. No leg pulling, no misbehavior, no personal attacks, and no generalization. Like in generally, we see people saying that, okay, this is how he commonly behaves, he or she, this is how they commonly behave. This is not how professionals behave. This is exactly wrong. So that's exactly what is professionalism. Let's talk about these skills in details. All right. Let me try and communicate and see if I can communicate well. Did I talk about clear and concise messaging? Be clear, be concise. The message has to be concise. You don't need to say too many words to explain a small scenario. There has to be transparency and there has to be honesty. Please make a note of it. Honesty is the best policy. Dishonesty has a burden of memory. A lot of remembering has to be done by being dishonest. Being honest, actually, being honest and withholding the rightful information is wrong. This is honesty is possible with confidentiality. There is certain information which has to be withheld. And because if you are honest, you can directly say, no, this is an information I'm not at liberty to divulge. Right? I'm not privileged to divulge that information to you. If you have those words in your mouth, probably is because you're honest. Dishonest people end up, engaging into arguments, into questions. People tend to ask them questions which they're not supposed to ask because you're dishonest, because you will entertain this. An honest person would be would have established this, that there is a limit to what you can talk to him about or her about. Having good communication skills does not mean you talk a lot. The people with better communication skills actually have a smaller mouth. They talk less, they talk concise. Because there is a old saying, old proverb that, you know, that the pen is mightier than the sword. That one stroke can do what 100 blows of a sword cannot. What is this? What are we talking about? That there should be conciseness, there should be clarity, there should be transparency. Do not keep people into a bubble. The problem at times happens because we're not transparent. What's the problem in telling the client that you're busy? What's the problem in telling the client that yes, you will make this money, yes, you will charge this fees? Many of our problems are actually, they are, these problems are being born because we are not transparent with our clients, because all the shades and all the covers that you have placed on your discussions, on your words, and all the non-transparent actions that you're taking is leading to people's expectations, is leading to a lot of things to remember. And sometimes the dishonesty has a very small life. It will be either caught by the client and you will have a problem, or the possibility of making that dishonest method of making money, maybe making or soliciting clients, will go away very soon. Now, last one is very important. This is not talking about a large group. Even when I have to talk to one person, you have to tailor the communication, tailor how we will talk. That means this should be specially done for them. This should be exclusively done for them. This should be personalized. The communication has to be personalized. There's a different way you talk to your parents. There's a different way in which you address your mother. There's a different way in which you address your wife. Similarly, now there is a very bad issue. Like with relations, we understand. So there are, let's say you have two aunts. One 2, and 3. There's a different way you address them, different way you talk to them, even after they having the same relation with you. You tailor those communications. But with clients, this is how I behave with my clients. No, every person is different, sir. How can you talk in the same way to all of them? How can you generalize a client as a client? Even when I'm talking to chartered accountants, I do not generalize. I cannot have the similar session on the same topic in a live room and on a webcast and on a Zoom meeting. The Zoom meeting will be done in a different way. A 500 people Zoom meeting will be done in a different way. The webcast will have a different method of communication. A presentation will change. My topic will change. My basic bullets will change. Even when I'm addressing people in physical capacity, if it's a 15 people crowd, my method of delivery changes. If it's a 100 people crowd, it changes. 1,000 people, totally different. If you add non-CS to it, another level. Just add a few students and my communication will change. Why? This is how communication becomes effective. This is how making sure that the communication chain is managed effectively. I hope I'm able to deliver the message clearly here. Let's move on to active listening. My favorite topic. I've already mentioned, if I've not mentioned it enough. This is quite well. It is said that this is my favorite topic of all the topics that we talk about in these sessions. Firstly, there are techniques of active listening. I would not bore you about them. I've already talked about them in the previous slides. And there's a whole lot of literature, a whole lot of things that are done. Demonstrate understanding. Look, there's one thing that, yes, you understand. There's there's another thing that you demonstrate. How do you demonstrate that? Paraphrase it. Say it again. Make sure the other person is assured that you understand what they want to say. If you have any issues, ask clarifying questions. Asking questions is a part of listening and not talking. You can ask questions. Once a person is done, ask questions. How do speakers understand if their sessions were effective or not? We do not have a misconception that okay, we delivered a perfect session, we delivered a great session today, because we rather tend to uh, judge our sessions based on the amount of questions that were put up from us. And I think it's a perfect way of analyzing, because once the questions will come in the end, we'll understand that if these questions were coming from precise slides, from precise things that I was talking, we know that there were active listeners in the audience. But if we have generic questions, we have questions you have thought about in the beginning of the session, we know that there was a lot of questions you had about the sessions, but we also know that, okay, there was not a lot of listening done in the session, but they had questions. Sometimes the questions clearly tell us these questions are just asked for the sake of asking. So understand just the questions that you ask. If you're asking me to clarify and emphasize on one of the points that I was talking about, I'll be more than happy. I understand that the session was being heard and there was things that you wanted to know more about. Moving on, what is emotional intelligence? Again, recognize the emotions that you are having, whatever you're feeling. First, recognize your own emotions, manage your own emotions. uh, you have to understand that how to keep going in the hours of distress, keep going in the hours of a low air. When air is thin, how to not look nervous even if the entire circumstance is directing you to be to making sure that you're sweating out of your kneecaps. But make sure that you are able to manage your emotions well. Have empathy. Empathy and sympathy are two different things. Empathy is try to think from their point of view, what they will think about this, how they will, what impact will it have on them emotionally. And of course, emotional awareness, makes people trust you. If you understand others' emotions, they trust you more and they reward you for it. Trust me, they do. Trust is one of the biggest rewards anyone can give you. Really. Let's talk about problem solving skills. Because we didn't talk about this in detail earlier, let's talk about this in detail now. First, analyze conflicts objectively. Let's read this word again. The emphasis in objectivity in conflict resolution. How can you, what is the meaning of being objective when it comes to conflict resolution? Well, look, when you are, in the state of conflict, there is two ways to approach the conflicts. One, that you want to win the argument. One, that you want to make sure you come out on the top after you end this conflict. The other approach, which is the right approach, is knowing the objective. What is my objective? No matter I look as a winner or a loser at the end of this argument or the conflict, it is important that the objectives of this conflict, whatever objectives we are aiming, are achieved. For example, there is a conflict between you and one of your employees. The conflict is on the premise of the conflict is that they want to leave early because they have a certain examination coming up, but you want somebody to finish the assignment that was being done, and the delivery of that assignment is let's say 3 o'clock tomorrow. Okay, let's understand. You want to make sure that the assignment is on your table by 12 o'clock. Maybe they want to go to a friend's party. Maybe they want to attend a function. They want to watch a movie in the evening. So you can always know the objective is to have the documents or the work done by 12 o'clock tomorrow. You can always give them an option that, okay, do you want to finish it up right now, or you want to come in a little early tomorrow and give it to me by 11:30? Maybe in this way, you will lose the argument. You will end up accepting that they will do it by 1 o'clock tomorrow, but your objectives are achieved. Winners or the leaders are not winning the arguments, are not winning all the conflicts. They are always making sure that their objectives are being achieved. They lose more arguments than they win, but still they have their objectives achieved because they are clear about what they want. How they want it is they decide when they go. Generate creative solutions. Like I said, if you don't want to sit late today, come early tomorrow. How many of you have ever given this option to your staff? I'm pretty sure less than half. Less than half of the accountants give this option. Even the corporates do not give this option very often to their employees. I've not heard it a lot. People say, finish this work in the night before. Give them the option to come early in the morning. Maybe 5 of them will come, but they'll be the most satisfied workforce you will have on your payroll. This is how you generate creative solutions. There is another way. Do you want to hire new staff because you have temporary increase, or you want to hire some freelancer or a consultant for this job and just get done with it after these 2 months expire? And you decide whom you want to hire and what money needs to be paid. We'll give you a budget. You come to us with a budget and we'll see if we can approve it. Something will be decided. This is a creative solution of the same problem. Every month for 3 days, a person needs somebody more to work in their team because the closing of the month has to be done. Why don't we give an option to our employees instead of hiring paid help, instead of hiring paid staff? Why don't we go to a consultant or ask the employee to see a consultant who can give you a staff member for 3 days every month? For a small amount of payment. Maybe the employee will cost you approximately 6 lakhs a year. This temporary solution can cost you less than 1.5 lakhs a year. And even the person providing the solution is happy. This is creative solutions. Problem solving skills means you have solutions which are creative. We all have, we all have additional staff. Sometimes we are short on staff. Why don't we have an understanding between 2 or 3 CAs that we will share our staff on basis when required? I'll tell you why. Because there's no transparency between us. We don't transparently want to say what we do, how we do it. All the soft skills come in hand with when they're together. They have to be achieved together. So you have to generate creative solutions. Just the same old will not work a lot in the modern world. So be creative. Negotiations are important. Compromises are important. You cannot always think about getting your way. You cannot always think about even winning. and getting your way, you have to make sure that you have to be open to negotiations. You have to be open to compromise. The most important part of them is what objective are you fighting for? So when I say be objective, when you are creative, when you negotiate, and when you compromise, keep in mind the objective you are trying to achieve. The objectivity is the heart of the entire problem solving. So forget about whatever is being said. Just remember the objective is important. And the problem solving skills is all about objectivity. Don't forget the objective, right? Okay, how will we maintain professionalism? I think this will be easy for the professionals. We are all professionals. We take pride in calling ourselves professionals. So let's just say, how will you maintain professionalism? Well, professionalism begins with P. So does pressure. Pressure is the pressure in case of professionals is inevitable. Okay, if you're a professional, there'll be a lot of pressure you'll have. There will be a lot that will be hanging in the balance most of the times in the day. So professionals are, they're the ones who thrive under pressure. So pressure is the main part of profession. So the professionals are usually under pressure. Respect. Profession comes with a very common statement, respect. But what do we need to respect here? We need to respect different viewpoints. Viewpoints, or we can also say point of view. So they're people different, think differently, come up with creative outcomes. All right? And uphold the ethical standards. Even if I ask the audience sitting right now, what are the 5 guiding ethical principles of ICI might not get the right answer. I might not. So my question to you is that why don't we read our ethics on a daily basis? Why did the ancient Indians or maybe other religions have a practice of preaching, have a practice of sitting in big symposiums talking about your religion, talking about your prayers? Why do we do prayers every day? Why do we daily talk about the like in the morning when we pray in my home, we always end our prayers by say dharm ki jai ho, adharm ka nash ho, like things like that. Like the dharm should prevail, the righteousness should prevail, and the unethical activities should be destroyed. There should be destruction, total destruction. The there should be a sense of compassion in all the living beings. And uh, there should be kalyan of the entire world. There should be prosperity in the world. The world should meet its objectives. The world should prosper. This is how we talk in the end of the prayers. Why do we do it? Because we wish to make sure we remember every day that whatever unethical items are inside us, whatever in un whatever is wrong as per the righteousness, as per the right ethics, whatever unethical stands inside us, we want to destroy it. And the victory in our fight, which happens in our heart every day between ethical and unethical, should be always won by ethical. That's why every morning we raise our hands and pray. That's why in every evening we fold our hands and we have an option of viewing our entire day with the eyes of ethics. I'm not a religious preacher. You can choose to be an atheist, but still you have to be very keen in upholding the ethical standards. Because you're a chartered accountant, chartered accountants take an oath of ethics. Chartered accountants read ethics as a part of their curriculum. They live by the ethics and they have to demonstrate ethics in every activity that they do. This is what we talk about professionalism, ethics, respect, and calmness. calmly respect the ethical standards. All right, let's move on. And now let's talk about strategies. Uh, I'm sorry if you don't have this in your home, in your office, but this practice is something which is must, which all the offices, I believe, in today's modern day should have in their workplace. Just a moment. In corporates, this is very common. The root cause analysis. They do the RCA of almost every problem, everything that happens there, every conflict that happens. Sometimes we talk to, sometimes we laugh at it that why do we always, keep on doing the root cause analysis of everything? Why every day you want to do a root cause analysis, right? So why every time you do it? But then in professional firms, in CA firms, we don't see root cause analysis as being a common practice. Now, I want to make sure that not just for the conflicts, but wherever something goes wrong, wherever something is not happening as per your as per the expectation or as per the way that you were expecting it to be, you have to ensure that there was a root cause analysis, right? Now, the second thing is optimism. This is misunderstood a lot. Okay, I'm trying to make sure that I don't define it in the wrong way, which I've always blamed others of having that kind of an attitude. Let me just try to get the right words for you here. Optimism is not just thinking everything will go right, but when you go for a solution, there should be a hope. There should be expectation that things will go right ultimately, right? This is optimism for you. So this is how you approach conflict resolutions. Positive attitude is important, but it's not something which you can't do without. Okay, this is positive attitude for you. Now let's talk about collaboration. We all are in commonly using the I told about like staff sharing. I told about that how can you manage different possibilities and different outcomes. Let's talk about collaboration. Now, ICAI also talks about collaborative efforts, collaborative firm management, could be multidisciplinary practice, it could be partnership, this could be LLPs. The core of all these discussions is collaboration. You have to collaborate with different professionals. You have to collaborate with the client sometimes. You have to collaborate with your team, and you will have a good conflict resolution. So if there is a huge conflict between you and maybe some other professional or maybe some other client, why don't you sit together and try to find a solution which is beneficial for both? Follow up. Whenever there is a conflict and you have resolved it, there's a solution that you have. Don't try to get a validation. Now, when I say follow up, some people confuse it with validation. You don't look for validation, you look for follow ups. That if the solution was agreed and they are happy with it, you don't have to see that if you were right or wrong. You have to see that if that resolution is being put into force or not. Sometimes follow up can just mean ensuring that things are being done as per the agreed paramount. Okay, not every time you have to make sure the follow up means, oh, everything is okay, I hope you did not mind. To hell with it sometimes, right? Then maintain relationships. Do not give up on relationships that easy. I promise you, relationships are, uh, you know, relationships are very important, not just personally, professionally, but also for each and every assignment. There will be relationships that you will develop, and there should be a sense of maintaining those relationships, right? I hope you're clear with this one as well. Now let's talk about case studies. Well, let's talk about the real world scenarios. I've already tried to take a lot of examples, but I will talk about maybe let's talk about the economic conflicts that happen around the world. Let's talk about popular economic conflicts, right? So there would have been a challenge. There was a very recently there was a company called I don't know, BLU was the title. There was a taxi company, right? There was some sort of mismanagement heard from it, and it lost a lot of investors in one of the parent companies. Now, in that case, there was a conflict that once they created this business model, like there was this company, I don't know if you know it or not, and I hate these webcasts at the time when I have to, take examples, because I want to know if you know that taxi company which was driving EV taxis. I think its name was the Blue Cabs or something, Smart Blue or whatever its name was. And there was another technology company which the same founder had, and it was the technology company started buying cars and giving it on rent to the subsidiary or the taxi company, without having it as an objective, because that company was public and the money was high and it was in profit. So it was almost mismanagement which was referred. Now the founder has lost both the companies, both the investors are gone, both the companies are down. And I don't know, if he must have money, because founders have learned that today customer is not paramount. Today they only work for investors, and even investors have no interest in building right businesses. They are just taking the exit at the right time. And this is, again, I say very strongly, I suggest these are not sustainable businesses. This is not a sustainable practice going on in the Indian startup sphere. But what happened is, let's say the taxi company was going down because its model was not sustainable, right? But the other company would not have gone down, but it was destined. Its destiny was to go up and up and up. Its direction was this. And why did you bring this company to this outcome? Because you had the intention of, first, we talked about this in other slides as well, that there was no transparency. There was lack of honesty. And that is why you didn't lose one, but you lost two. So you could have easily seen this one failure and one success in your life. You would have started with 1:1. And then you could have gone into making another success, maybe another failure, then another success, or maybe let's say three failures would have would have been followed by a success, 5-5. But right now you have taken yourself as 0-1, 0-2. You've had two failures and one success you deliberately turned into a failure. Right? So, because the conflict was there was a difference in the real scenarios that came across after the introduction of the new so when the business came into the real world, we saw that it's not profitable. You tried your best. You could have easily admitted your mistake and gone out, instead of being a bad example of two things. This was a bad case of conflict resolution, right? Now let's talk about examples where people successfully negotiated and made big success out of out of no possible there was no possibility left. At the points there were issues where it was hard to even sustain, and suddenly, because of the right skills, because of the right mindset and the right soft skills that they had, the right frame of mind they operated with, they came out as a success story now. Before a few years ago, when the entire the CD market was there, entire tape market was there, you used to see that there were music labels which were doing great, which were becoming successful because they had a control over the distribution channels of the music. But today the music is easily available on YouTube. The music is freely recordable on any recording studios. The equipments are more reachable for people. The technology has become cheaper with time. So now, what is the need of music labels and how are they still surviving? Because they came up with solutions. They realized that I'll tell you what was the difference. Look, first thing is that they went to the root cause. The problem is that their their current, the root cause was that their current advantage is only because they have the distribution power. But how did they tackle? Instead of letting the distribution be their only upscale, they made the capital as their new upscale because they have the capital, right? They had the positive attitude that yes, still the singers or still the artists will choose to perform with the label, will choose to come up with the label because they approached it with a positive attitude. So build they build they built the platforms like T Series and Sony. They built platforms on YouTube. They built a very loyal audience there as well. The positive attitude made them build it, and then they collaborate with the artists. They collaborate with the artists for mutually beneficial solutions. What is the benefit? Do you know today labels own their life? They sponsor not just their music, they sponsor their lifestyle, they sponsor their regular expenses to make sure that they have the capital to live a great life, to live like a celebrity, to make sure people treat them like one. A lot of marketing happens these days. Word of mouth is very important. And then they follow up and maintain relationships. Of course, they maintain relationships with the stars, they maintain relationship with celebrities, and they make celebrities and then they maintain relationships. Have you ever seen labels commonly? Have you ever seen commonly they're treating their stars like employees? Even when this might be true. They never do it because they are maintaining their relationships with this entire ecosystem that they've developed, you know? So this is how, and I hope you have all the information that you needed here because that is what we are trying to approach. Just allow me a minute. All right. So we've talked about the outcomes, we've talked about the case studies, and I think we have reached a point where we can take questions now, but I just want to confirm if there is any questions, and I don't know if my moderator is available with me or not.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm there. So
Is there
I
any-
invite all the participants. If they have any query or questions regarding the session, they please put on the chat box. Arora sir is there to solve all the queries and questions. Thank you.
The chat box is active. Okay, I saw it. Okay. So the first question is, how do we make others listen to us actively or make communication clear and effective? Well, active listening is not a skill you need to force on others. You can demonstrate active listening, inspire people to be active listeners, but you cannot force others to be active listeners. The problem is there. I'm glad this question is framed in this way because I think you've mentioned a problem. Instead of question, this is a problem. We want others to behave in a certain way. We don't want to correct our behavior, but we are rather trying to ensure that others behave in our way of expectation. We have to change from ourselves. So, there was a very famous line from a song of Michael Jackson. The song was Man in the Mirror. You can go and listen to the song. It is available on YouTube, I think. The song said that if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. So I'm starting with the man in the mirror, and so should you. We should not expect too much from others. Rather, we should first decide that what we can do. So my question here would have been that how will I communicate effectively? How will I make sure the message is delivered? So that question could have easily been answered by saying Okay, not a problem. I can be a effective communicator. Make sure my message is clear, it is concise. I am transparent with my next party. I am honest, and I communicate. Tailoring the communication will solve most of your communication problems. I promise that. Because the problem with us is we try to talk to everyone that this is how I talk. If you have heard people say, Mom, I talk in the same manner. In North, we say, मैं तो ऐसी बात करता हूँ. No, this is not the way. There's a different way you talk to different people. And this is how you have to approach that. Moving on. What is the best target to get response and revert from third parties or someone you're communicating for the first time? Okay. You can ask questions. The answers will always come by asking open ended questions. Don't ask close ended questions, which people can easily get away by saying yes or no. Right? Because what I said right now, I just want to make sure that my moderator is available. She could have easily said yes or no. But then I can ask an open-ended question. Is there anything that is there any question that you might have had? Is there any approachable? How do you see effective communication as? This is an open-ended question. I can make them have a response. I can, of course, see that they are listening to me or not. I can ask them, what do you think about active listening? So, what do you learn about active listening? Or how do you see active listening different from this presentation that I've given today? So, this is the way I've taken responses from the third parties. And I'm sorry, I have a problem with this question. I just realized that I have an issue which I take with this question. You want in response from third parties. Someone you're communicating for the first time is the second party. You are the first party, the other one is the second party. What is the third party doing here? So, for example, the third party in this communication is maybe the board, maybe the institute. We don't want responses from the third party most of the times, right? I hope you were saying second party. Okay. Practical tips to deal with situations which potentially could go. This is a question that I'm reading, by the way, for the audience. Please elaborate on practical tips to deal with situations which potentially could go wrong in future, leading to financial loss. How to manage the daily anxiety leading to the future loss, financial losses. Look, soft skills I teach for free, but communication I charge the money for. But the finance is where I charge my money. This is where I make money. I'm a chartered accountant, so I will not tell you for free. But I can tell you how situations can lead to potential, what wrong can go in conflict resolution, which can lead to financial losses. So, look, it's simple. Uh, I'll share the problem and then I'll share a tip for that. Sometimes we want to make sure a message is delivered. Sometimes it is to a client. We want to make sure that this message is delivered. For example, Pragya ma'am has hired me for an ESG assignment, and I want to make sure she knows that I charge a certain money and I do not like to negotiate on my terms. I have this attitude which I'm having right now. This is the kind of approach that I'm taking. I'm not tailoring my conversation. I don't know how she thinks. I want to make sure my message is delivered. The problem is that if I try to make the communication in a dominating way, no clarity, no conciseness, no honesty, not even tailoring, not even respectful of her point of view, I might end up losing the client, one, losing the relationship that I have with this person. And of course, this is a financial loss. This will potentially go wrong. What is a tip? The entire session you took today was a tip. Be clear, tailor the communication, try to have a positive attitude. You will have the answer to the problems, but at least approach the scenario with positivity and optimism. That's a very important part. So I'm reading another question. How do you handle conflicts that involve sensitive or confidential information? Good question. But how do I handle? So let's just talk about me now. That's personally directed to me, so I'll answer it in the way this is directed. If it involves sensitive or confidential information, I'll tell you. Do you know why countries, when they sit and they take actions, like India is taking action on terrorism right now, why do they not show the proofs that they are sure that this has been done by the entire government of the country that they are blaming it on? Do you think government of India has gone crazy and they're just attacking another democratic nation for no reason? No, they have information. They have sensitive and confidential information. They cannot divulge that information because they would not stand in the way they wanted to stand. Because this is intelligence. Intelligence knows the answers, but the way this information is collected is not how which they can divulge. It would be risky to the assets. Now, how do they handle these conflicts? In this case, when there is some information that you have and you cannot divulge it, you cannot communicate it with the other party, but you want to make sure that you take action, you have to see two things. Look at the other party. Can you afford to, afford their disagreement? Can you afford by dominating that party without giving a reason? In the case of the recent conflict between India and Pakistan, it was a possibility. They did. But will this be possible when it is in between you and a client? Maybe not. So, in that case, when you start communicating, tailor the communication according to that information not being there on the record. You understand? Make that discuss that in a format where uh, you do not communicate by taking that information into record. It comes with a lot of practice, with a lot of patience. It takes time. But of course, once you are able to you're able to make sure that you are able to avoid sensitive information, you will, but it will take time, but you have to. So there are two options. If you can dominate without giving a reason, please do by all means. But if you cannot, calm down. Talk like the information does not exist. Moving on. The next question is, how do you ensure that everyone feels heard and understood during the conflict? All right. Well, that's a pretty interesting question, I should say. Um, so I have to ensure that everyone feels heard. All right. Ragam, do you understand this question? What this person has just asked?
The fifth one, how do you
Yeah,
ensure that everyone feels heard and understood during our conflicts?
yeah. You
So,
understand?
sir, not exactly, but sir, it's meaning like how we get to know that what we are trying to say or what we are trying to explain are understood by each and everyone. I think
So
this
is
is
this,
that.
I mean, you're trying to tell me that they are asking me about the communication has been clear and concise, and there is no misunderstanding. They're trying to ensure that there is no misunderstanding, and I am able to, I'm able to be assured that yes, this is what has happened. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir, it's look same. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Did you feel heard when I was talking like this to you?
Sorry, sir.
Did you feel that I was listening to you when I was hearing when you were telling me when you're giving me the explanation?
Yes, sir.
So if we are having an argument and if I ask you the question and ask you to rephrase it and then I paraphrase it, will you still feel heard during a conflict?
Yes, sir. If the communication in both the way, we can understood that the conflicts are being well heard.
Thank you very
What
much.
I
So all the audience, whoever has asked this question, this was the answer. So you let the other person speak, paraphrase it, concise it. First, listen what the person is saying. No matter right and wrong. Listen, absorb the information, rephrase it, ask it back. The person will feel heard. You have to hear to make sure the other person feel that they heard. Rephrase that same point. They'll definitely have the assurance that they're looking for. Is, oh my God, this is a very big striker. Is conflict a sign of a deeper issue within the relationship or within myself? This seems to be a question for late night radio, you know. well, Look, firstly, I respect mental health professionals. I respect the people who are going through mental health issues, but not everything is a problem with you. Not everything is a problem with the relationship. Sir, sometimes the conflict is just a conflict. It is on the matter. We have a tendency of approaching a conflict with a mindset, okay, this is the problem they have with me. Oh, she has a problem with me all the time she starts to talk. Mostly, I feel surprised because I talk about soft skills, and I'm not a marriage counselor, by the way. But when people talk about problems in their marriage, they say, like for example, I sit with my guy friends most of the time because my wife said no to hanging out with women alone. Well, honestly, they definitely say problems like my wife is when the wife is telling them about coming to home on time, when the wife is questioning their cleanliness, their hygiene, their organization skills. They try to say that this is a problem which their wife has with them, but I definitely feel that it was just a conflict. It was just a discussion on the point, on the problem, and you're trying to make it a problem between you and her. Neither it is a problem with you, neither it is a problem with her, neither it is a problem with the relationship. Because if there was, they would have stopped communicating about micro issues. Micro issues exist when on the macro level you have a strong relationship. I'm taking an example of a personal problem, but in a professional level as well, the only client who will tell you the problems very often are only two cases. One, they love your services, they want them to be a little better, and they want you to cater their all the issues that they have. They want you to cater them because they don't want to leave you. Second could be they just want to negotiate a better fees, but they want your service. The bottom line in both the cases, my dear, remains that they like your services. They approach your business with a positive approach. I think it's I think I'm comfortable in saying that mostly conflict does not mean that there's a problem with the relationship or the person itself. With you, you think there is a problem? Yes, there could be. If you're not able to use anything which I've said in the entire session of the last 1.5 hours, 45 minutes, yes, there could be a problem which you can address. But it's not a deep issues and everything. I don't say that it's a deeper issue or not. Why? Because I'm not a mental health professional. If you think you have certain issues, please go to a mental health professional. That's all I can say. Because I only solve problems which can be dealt with by a professional accountant. And I talk with experience, not with the skills of a mental health specialist, right? Now we're at the question number 8. To work with someone. Oh, another question, just a minute. To work with someone we found difficult to get along with, how did you manage the relationships? Ah, Look, working relationships are very different from personal relationships. I work with a lot of people I don't personally like. And I don't need to like everybody I work with. There is different people I have drinks with, there's different people I have my working tea with. I don't mix the both. I don't want to mix the both. But that does not mean that I never sit on a few drinks with one of my partners. I do. Two of us get along very well. Three others get along very well with themselves. They are personal friends. They reach each other out on their kids' birthdays. They attend each other's every functions. We don't. We only go when a bigger crowd is invited. But it's okay to not get along with someone and still be able to work. Maybe Dr. Sambit Mishra, maybe CA Pragya Jain will not find it very happening to hang out with me for an evening, but they're okay to work with me. There's a difference. We don't need to get along with everyone we work with. I think it's safe to say in the meeting, because this is the name I can read and I can talk about. Sambit ji and I have known each other from 2 years. And in both the years, I don't think we've ever sit outside of work. We've had personal conversations, one or two, sometimes when we're sitting at work and it's a long day after a long work. Maybe the beginning of a session in 15 minutes we are preparing the session for you. But I don't think we talk a lot about our personal lives to each other. It's just professional. It's okay. We manage the relationships like that. Most of the speakers you see, most of the speakers and moderators you see us in perfect sync. We are not personal friends, most of us. Sorry to say that. No offense to my moderator, but we're not personal friends most of the times. It's okay. We can have a healthy working relationship without making it too personal with anybody. Okay. Two members of our team disagree on a key strategy. Okay. We have reached an impasse. Impasse is a chess term, by the way. What would we do to de-escalate the situation? Well, I would say with the recent experience, hit Kirana Hills, if you know what I mean. Well, to de-escalate, you've reached an impasse on a key strategy, approach with optimism first. Sit together, be objective, that you need to solve this problem for both of you and for your entire team. I'm sure both of you have the best interest of this, whatever is it a project, if it's the company strategy, whatever it is. I'm sure you both have the interest of company or the client or whatever the assignment is at your hearts. So sit together, see where and spend a lot of time. You need to, if there's an impasse, you need to know their reasons. You need to communicate your reasons, and if anybody is saying there is my way or the highway, you have to choose that. If highway is a possibility for you, choose the highway. Open communication prospers when it is from all the ends. It will not prosper in isolation. Like you yourself are an open communicator in your office, and all the rest are totally concerned about their personal agendas. This is not how things will happen. I'm sorry. So to de-escalate, you might need to escalate a little, right? And by the way, let me just, sorry, I have to come back to the question because the beginning was two members of your team have disagreed on a key strategy. If they are your employees, if they are subordinate to you, develop a stratagem where both of them feel it's like a win. I'm sure there are key, sometimes maybe you're taking one strategy, but use the language of the other person because there will be common things in both the strategies, right? So try and make sure, give both a win. Don't make it a lose one, lose win, because that will create an unnecessary competition between your team and nobody makes benefit out of it. How do we address disagreements that arise because of differences in this communication styles? Okay. Disagreements do not arise because of style of communication, honestly. Yes, they can aggravate a person, right? Sometimes, yes. I'm sorry, I made a wrong assumption. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, I had to make sure there's something in my pocket that I need to give somebody. All right. So, yes, there are differences that arise because of differences in communication style. Maybe somebody is very dominating and the other person is a little submissive, or maybe the other person does not is a good communicator. The problem with people good with communication is that they do expect others to be the same, but that's not the case. Again, the observation skills play a key role here. You have to observe that what aggravates them and who are the people they talk politely to. How to the good amount of observation skills. If this person is somebody I talk to very often, I know how to de-escalate, and I know I have to observe them very well, not try to talk too much. Observe how he behaves with different people and what softens them up. What are their likes and dislikes? How do they approach people of different races and different abilities with each other? Yeah. There's another question. I think we have reached 11th question now. When dealing with multiple conflicts simultaneously, how do we prioritize? How do we prioritize your actions? You don't prioritize my actions. You prioritize your actions on that time, brother. Well, if you're dealing with multiple conflicts at the same time, conflicts are not urgent and non-urgent. the agendas are. First priority is given to the agenda, whatever the agenda is, whichever is the top priority agenda for you, that conflict takes precedence. But if there are two conflicts with simultaneous or similar standing of agenda importance, agenda urgency, my suggestion is that you can prioritize based on the consequent damage which each conflict might have. Wherever do you think the consequent casualty can be more than the other, you approach that. That's how you prioritize your actions or your choice of conflict, which you choose earlier. Sometimes there is importance that you have to give. If all these things are again at an impasse, you can always choose to. You choose to give the importance on the basis of hierarchy as well. Sometimes, yeah. The other ways, this is very particular question. And I think there is multiple options that you have to to address these. That's what I say. Yeah. I think we're done with the questions as well. My moderator, the most enabled, the most important person of the session. I would want to hand the mic over back to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, sir. In very short time, you have covered all the points very beautifully, and I must have to say, precisely you have covered all the topic with topmost knowledge. So it has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful webcast on skill that set you apart, navigating conflicts and solution with confidence, organized by the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee ICI under leadership of Jay Chhera sir and Abhay Chhajar sir. On behalf of the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee of ICI, we could like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our speaker CA Nakul Arora sir, his enlightening session, a wide round of applause. And thanks to the organizer, Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, ICI. Our today's speaker, CA Nakul sir, and other stakeholders made the webcast a memorable one. Finally, we would like to thank all of you present here and helping us make this webcast a grand success. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, sir. Sir, you are on mute, I think.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank
I'll
you.
take. Thank you.